What's up, YouTube? Welcome to my channel. My name is Jason, and today we're going to be going over more than 10 things that you should know about the COVID vaccine. So before we get into this, I just want to let everybody know that citations to everything that I have read about this are going to be in the description box below. So don't believe me, read it for yourself. A little bit of background on me. I have a bachelor's in biology. So when I read a scientific article, I do kind of understand what I'm reading. And I've read both scientific articles and news articles to try to find this information. And this is in no way meant to be medical advice. Always listen to your doctors. But without anything else, let's get right into it. So number one, Operation Warp Speed began in March of 2020. It was founded by the Health and Human Services. And the way that they designed it was that the COVID vaccine was going to be getting developed concurrently with the trials that were going on, so that they could do a quick rollout as long as the vaccines were shown to be both safe and effective, which they were. Number two, the Pfizer vaccine has been shown to be 95% effective, and the Moderna vaccine has been shown to be 94% effective. They're effective at preventing symptoms and 100% effective at preventing death in all of the trials that they did. Some common side effects that you'll see are typical with vaccines. So injection site soreness, headache, fever, and chills, fatigue that can last for about 3 days. In some small cases, it lasted up to 7 days. And they're 2-series shots. So with the Pfizer, you get one shot, and then 21 days later, you get your second shot. And with Moderna, you get your second shot on the 28th day. In both of the vaccines, what they found is that the worst symptoms occurred with the second shot. And it makes sense because with the first shot, you're just getting your body kind of used to producing antibodies for that particular vaccine. So when you get the second one, your body's already kind of ready for it. It's ready for a fight. So because of that, they do monitor you for at least 15 minutes after you've gotten the vaccine to make sure you're not going to have any major adverse reactions. And, you know, this is true of any vaccine. Even if you just get the flu vaccine, they're supposed to watch you for at least 10 minutes and make sure that you're okay and that you're not having any sort of allergic reaction. So that's pretty normal. They have found that the vaccines are safe for people that have previously had COVID. Of course, they don't want to give it to you if you have an active infection. Number three, mRNA technology is not new. Since 2011, they've been using it on cancer vaccines. So one of the fears that a lot of people have is that mRNA technology is just way too new. We don't know what it's going to do to us, but they've been using it for a decade now and haven't seen any major effects or side effects from it. mRNA technology is kind of cool because what it does is, you know, normally in your body's cells, you're in the nucleus, you've got the DNA and you've got mRNA that gets transcribed. It comes out inside your cell and the cytosol, which is kind of like the blood of the cell. And then your body's own ribosomes translate it into proteins. And so the way that these vaccines work, these vaccines get inside of the cell, just into the cytosol part. They don't go inside of the nucleus. And your body's own ribosomes start producing those proteins, those viral proteins that the vaccine codes for, which is just a single spike protein that is found on the coronavirus. And once those proteins leave your cell, your body mounts an immune response. And, you know, presumably especially after your second dose, you've got immunity to the coronavirus. Number four, vaccines did go through phase 3 testing. For the Pfizer vaccine trial, they had over 44,000 participants. And for the Moderna one, they had 30,400. So it was a pretty big study. You would hope in a study of that many people that if there was going to be a problem, you would see it by then. And that's the same as other vaccines. The only difference is With other vaccine production, it's usually just one company that's trying to develop a vaccine. And they've only got a few $1 million to throw at the research. That's why it takes years. But because this is a global pandemic and they're trying to get this out as quickly as they can, you've got governments that are throwing billions of dollars at multiple companies. And that's how we got the vaccine so quickly. Number 5. Vaccinated people still may actually be able to spread the virus. And they're going to need to continue wearing masks, washing their hands, using alcohol, scrub, social distancing. What they have found is, or at least what most experts are saying, is that we have to reach herd immunity. And I'm sure you've heard that term before, but depending on who you talk to, they're thinking anywhere from 60 to 80% of the population has to reach herd immunity before the masks can come off and we don't have to worry about infecting people that are the highest risk. So, and as far as being able to spread the virus, it is something that they're following. But in the current trials that they found, it does seem like the vaccine not only protects you from getting symptoms and from dying, but it may actually protect other people, even if you get infected with COVID. They're following it. They need to keep following this. There is the alternative that possibly you could get the vaccine, be infected with COVID, and you have no symptoms, and then you're spreading it. So they are continuing to look at that. Another thing that they're looking at is mucosal vaccines. So right now, like the flu vaccine has one that you can put in your nose, and that helps protect you from the flu. Well, the COVID vaccine primarily likes to spread through your sinuses, when you sneeze and you cough, things like that. So if they could develop a mucosal vaccine, that might actually help prevent the spread of COVID as well. Number 5, some of the less common side effects or adverse reactions were hives, severe fever that required hospitalization in one person, Bell's palsy, which is a temporary drooping of one side of the face. It usually comes about because you've got paralysis of a nerve, and it is something that they don't fully understand. And it seems like if you get it once in your life, that's the only time you're ever going to have it. You don't get it again, and it is treatable with just basic medicine. Another adverse reaction was Guillain-Barré syndrome, which is a neurological disorder. And again, we're talking like 1 in 100,000. Like this did not happen in a whole lot of people, but there is the chance to get that. Another thing is that patients with cosmetic fillers have found that they're having like facial swelling if they get the vaccine. If you have facial fillers, it may be something you'd want to talk with your doctor about. But even people that had a bad reaction to the vaccine, in that case, they were able to just give them antihistamines and steroids, and they were just fine. Number 7. So there is the potential for lipid nanoparticle immune response. In layman's terms, the mRNA that the vaccine is made of has to get into your cells. And so they use these lipid nanoparticles as like a delivery mechanism to get it inside of your cells. So that, coupled with other surfactants, I mean, when I think of surfactant, I think of soap, but basically it's just breaking down surface tension. Polyethylene glycol is something that we're finding in both the Pfizer and the Moderna vaccines. And some people are having a bad reaction just to the lipid nanoparticles, not even just the vaccine itself. So they are researching other things that they could use to deliver the vaccine inside of our cells. Number 8. There is the potential for antibody-dependent enhancement. What that means is, let's say I get infected with one virus, my body defends me against it, and I'm okay. Well, now if I'm infected with a similar strain of that virus, like in the same family, if I have what are called non-neutralizing antibodies that are staying in my system, they can actually enhance the negative effects of the other virus. They can help it get into my cell a little bit easier, can actually increase the side effects. So they have not seen this in any of the trials. They have not noticed that this has happened with the COVID vaccine, but it is something that a lot of times they see with respiratory illnesses. So it's something that they're following. They're keeping track of this and making sure that the COVID vaccine is not somehow making you more susceptible to COVID strains, because COVID is just one of the many viruses that are out there. Number 9, vaccine companies or manufacturers have liability indemnity. And that basically means if you have a bad reaction to a vaccine, like a really bad reaction, or even if you die, you or your family members cannot sue the manufacturers of that vaccine because of that liability indemnity. Now, that kind of worries me a little bit, but the US government has set up 2 countermeasures to try to help pay out if you have medical bills or something like that. So those 2 organizations are the Countermeasures Injury Compensation Program from Health and Human Services, and the other one is the National Vaccine Injury Compensation Program of 1986. And when I looked at it, it looks like they make it somewhat difficult to prove that it was the vaccine that caused your adverse reactions. But if you can prove that the vaccine caused it, you could get reimbursement. It also looks like within the past few decades, they haven't paid out a whole lot of money. And hopefully that just means that not a lot of people have had bad reactions to vaccines. Number 10, companies like Pfizer, Moderna, AstraZeneca, and Johnson & Johnson all have had major $1 million or even $1 billion lawsuits against them. Just as one example, Pfizer sold a medicine called Vioxx, which was a COX-2 inhibitor. It's kind of like an NSAID, so it's a pain reliever. But what they did is it convinced the public that it did not increase your risk for heart attack and stroke, even though they knew better. And they ended up having to pay out billions of dollars, but they made so much more. That information coupled with the fact that you can't sue the companies kind of scares me a little bit. On the flip side, they've made a lot of drugs that have helped millions of people. So, there's a small risk there that they're not being honest, but I'd like to believe that they are. Some common claims that we see about the COVID vaccine are that drug companies stand to make billions of dollars. This is true, but when you have a free market and like an open economy, it's kind of good, because if the companies are going to be investing millions or even billions of dollars into new technology, if they don't have the potential to get that much back or more, they're not going to develop new stuff. So yes, they get rich, but on the flip side, we get new technology and new medicine that can help save millions of lives. Another claim is that Dr. Fauci stands to make millions of dollars on the COVID vaccine. From what I have found, that is not true. He genuinely seems altruistic. And there was an instance where he was the head of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Disease, and he had to put his name on a paper where they had researched interleukin-2, which is a treatment for HIV and AIDS. And because his name was on that paper, he got reimbursed, or he got compensation for it, but he didn't feel like it was okay to take the money. So he took the money and then he gave it to charity. Another one is that the vaccines carry a smart chip. It's not true. We don't have that kind of technology yet. Yes, if you have animals, if you have a cat or a dog, they can put a little chip underneath their skin that has like their identifying number, but the kind of information that you would need for this would be like your name, your date of birth, your social security number, your entire history. We just don't have the kind of technology to do that right now. Another claim is the vaccine is going to give me COVID. Well, it can't. The mRNA vaccine does not code for COVID. It codes for that single spike protein that is found on the virus. So even when it gets into your cell, there's no way for it to manufacture COVID itself. It's not something to worry about. Another claim is the vaccine is going to change my DNA. The vaccine can't change your DNA. First off, the vaccine has nothing in there that could alter your DNA. The other thing is that it can't even get inside of the nucleus. There are proteins called importins and exportins that help the mRNA get into and out of the nucleus. And without those proteins, it's stuck in the cytosol. It can't go anywhere. And these vaccines don't have those proteins, so it's not something to worry about. Another claim is that Bill Gates is trying to control the world with these COVID vaccines. It's just a conspiracy. I mean, the guy has no incentive to do such a thing. Just that is one thing you're just going to have to really think about. That is honestly just conspiracy. Some other things to consider are that the COVID vaccine is completely free. Now, medical providers can provide an administration fee, like, because they're giving you the shot, but you should never be getting charged for the vaccine itself. So if you do, talk to your doctors. You can easily report adverse side effects if you go on cdc.gov. So if you get the vaccine and you're having issues with it, you can go on there and let them know. And they want you to. They're trying to keep track of what's going on here. If it were to come out that the vaccine caused bad side effects in a lot of people, then they would probably want to stop the rollout of it. One of the things that we found is everybody knows that wearing a mask is protecting others from your germs, but recent information from the CDC actually shows that it seems to protect you too. So when you have aerosolized droplets in the air, not only is the mask catching what you cough or sneeze out, it seems to be catching what would be hitting the mask from the outside. So wearing a mask during this pandemic is just an all-around good idea if you're going to be out in public. Another thing is that vitamins D, C, and zinc seem to have a really good effect at not only protecting infection from COVID, but also reducing the symptoms. Vitamin D has been shown to potentially reduce the cytokine storm that COVID is known for, where it is very damaging to your lungs. The cytokines are basically just cellular messengers. Like your cell here says, oh no, there's something in the body that doesn't belong here, and it starts sending out signals, and then the other cells and your immune cells pick that up and go, oh, I should travel there and help stop this. So that'd be one thing to talk with your doctors about. Supplementation with these vitamins. In some other countries, it looks like if people are hospitalized with COVID, they're even giving them vitamin D as part of the treatment. So it's a good thing to look into. So if you enjoyed this video and you felt like you got a lot of good information out of it, please like, share, and subscribe. If this is the kind of content that you'd like, please leave a comment down below and let me know some things that you'd like me to research and kind of do a deep dive on them. And I'll see you in the next one.